always like Queen was on the first place, or the second, or the third. But like Karma Chameleon of Culture Club, or like the rest of these bands, do you like it? Like,
some of the things he enjoyed. He liked Boy George because he was just so totally different to anybody else. He liked Prince for the same reason, but he wasn't copying anybody. He was his own person. He would do what he wanted. Also, the fact that he stood about this high, and yet he had so much power within the musical world at that point. There were a few bands in the 80s that he enjoyed. Spandau Ballet, he knew. And Tony Hadley and he became good friends. There was a band, an English band called The Alarm, that he actually thought quite a lot of. Much of it he thought was sort of repetitive, just so much following the others. But no, as I say, because he liked things that stood out, he liked things that were different. But he didn't spend a lot of time listening to other music like that. He would listen to sort of Ella Fitzgerald, he would listen to, music that he really enjoyed. The Hollywood films, the musicals, all that sort of stuff. He loved that music. He loved the old music.
But there was some kind of music, some kind of the nerd, like something that he didn't like. Most he didn't like.
He didn't?
Yeah. Like the heavy or something.
No, if he didn't like it, he didn't listen to it. And that was like most of the music that was around. Because there was too much stuff he wanted to listen to. That he, if he didn't enjoy it. It's strange. He did not have many LPs or CDs. What we used to have to collect, believe it or not, was, I can't remember the exact titles, but it's Now This Is Music or something. They were just starting back then. And now you're up to about Now This Is Music 94 or something. But, it was the sort of hits of the time. We would collect those rather than him listening to whole albums of things.
So he was like taking the time.
Yeah. And as I say, he spent more time listening to sort of Quincy Jones productions, that sort of music. That was where his soul was.
So he didn't have like the artist, I hate him.
No. He wouldn't waste his time with hate. There was too much to like.
It's amazing.
We know so much go on with Brian's songs, but it's also said that it was written with some influence, and maybe not direct, but input from Freddie. Do you tell something about it? Do you remember something?
I think basically what it was, Brian knew at that point that Freddie was sick. And it was in some ways Brian's sort of tribute to Freddie. Considering how he was still carrying on with recording, he was still keeping his whole life going. You have to remember, earlier in Queen, each track had a name by it, written by. Basically what that meant was that person brought the idea into the studio. And then the end result was 5 people's work each time. The problem then was that the person whose idea it was gets all the money. And then in the old days with the vinyls, the person who had the B-side gets the same amount of money as the person who has the A-side. So if you think about it, Roger got exactly the same amount of money out of the single for Bohemian Rhapsody that Freddie did, because it was a Roger track the other side and the others didn't get anything. So that's why later on it was still the same. Each person would bring their own idea in and they would work on it together, but afterwards everything was called Queen, because that way all the money was just split 4 ways.